licking balls to kicking balls. It was essentially his whole...
No,
He's like, I digitally remove the hairs on the balls.
Yeah, but like, do you get what I mean?
I was gonna say that's why all the AFL players look so sexy and like the sweaty shot is always perfect because the right guy is editing the shot.
Editors,
yeah,
and that's the thing, right? Like we were doing the exact same job, but my CV is porn free. There is not one iota of it on there. So, and that's the thing, right? I will say, in a more general sense, to what might help you is you essentially have to be undeniable. Like you have to be annoying to people, but in a good way. So what I did was I was constantly like emailing producers of shows, networks. I was sending in hard copies of resumes, and that's how I always got interviews, because they would say they'd forget about people who just emailed in a CV. But whereas if they have a physical copy, I would just get calls out of nowhere and be like, I've got my CV on your desk. It's here. And that's why we called you in.
That's how you became good friends with Peter Hitchner. You kept emailing him.
Of course.
And he was just like, Damien, please stop this. I'm a news anchor. I do not do anything else besides
I don't want to be on your podcast.
I don't want to do it.
Look, and when I say be annoying, it was more like I was just checking in every couple of months, being like, hey, it's me again. Is there anything available? And I'd also just be messaging producers and saying stuff like, I'm not looking for a job. I would just love some advice on how what the steps I should be taking to get a job. And they would give me like, and a lot of time they'd be happy to like lend their ear and just give me a ton of advice on what I should be doing. And that was super helpful as well.
Television industry strikes me as one of those industries that's like you got to constantly be hunting for work and also always be looking at what's coming up, and you know having listened to I guess Damien over the years as far as you know where he's been and where he's going and where he is, like, it does seem like one of those things that you always need to be sort of on the lookout. You always sort of got to have your feelers out for whatever's coming up and whatever's out there.
Yeah, that's spot on. And like you just have to don't say no to anything. You have to be yes man. You have to be Jim Carrey, like any opportunity, because it's not going to hurt your CV to have a ton of experience on there. That's probably all I can say. If you have any more questions, feel free to follow up with us at tqhpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to give you more advice on it.
See, as someone who is technically trained in that sort of industry myself, I found that to be way too difficult, and I went for a more stable route, just because I'm like, damn, I know that the work hours are tough, and it really does take a certain type of person to have that drive and motivation to work in those industries. So, and if you love what you do, obviously that sort of stuff doesn't really mean anything, because if you're enjoying it and you love it, it doesn't matter how much you're working.
As someone who's looked at how hard both of you guys looked for a job, I decided, fuck that. Let's pick a job that there's an abundance of jobs for and become an accountant. Nah, don't do that. Please don't.
Everybody has money and needs money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's not the most stable career. I've worked on shows that have been cancelled. Not a good feeling. Doesn't feel good. But, you know, that is the ups and downs of the industry.
Marcus, I'm actually surprised that you didn't take a route into acting, because you had featured in a lot of the movies that Damien and I had made. You were basically our muse. After your breakout role in Bad Dudes in 2002 that I made with my cousin, I'm surprised that you didn't sort of branch off from that. I believe that you were wearing an afro wig in that movie that we made. Is that right?
I did branch off. Yeah, I earned from that, and I starred in Damien's next film, which is a superhero film. Before the superhero films got big, I was the original superhero.
It's true.
Waterman. You were Waterman. That's right. And then you went on to, Waterman. I think, pretty sure Damien's friend had edited you in some of the pornos as well. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm in the background just giving the thumbs up. That's it.
He's an accountant in the background.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good guy.
I also like how Marcus is claiming the film that we made together is what kicked off the superhero film renaissance. When I made the superhero I made was called Waterman when Aquaman already exists. Like, it was a complete ripoff.
Shh, Damien, shh. The audience doesn't need to know this.
Yeah, of course. But I will finish with this. I already said it, but if you do have any more questions, home security, feel free to hit us up again. I would happily give you more career advice, and I hope that was helpful, what we said just then.
Yeah. Thank you for writing in home security as well. We really appreciate you taking the time. We're glad that you are enjoying the show and listening. So thank you very much. But guys, that is unfortunately all the time we have for the show. Great questions, as I said, brought to the table as always. If you want to email us like Home Security did, feel free to do so at tqhpodcast@gmail.com. But that is all the time we have for this week's episode. And thank you to everyone out there for listening. Thank you, of course, to Marcus.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you to Damien.
Thanks, guys.
And as we end every episode, Marcus.
Stay
You mean
curious.
Michael?
Sorry, Michael.
Hey.
Yeah, of course.
Hey. Stay curious.
Thank you again for listening. If you want to get in touch with us and ask us a question of your own, you can email us at tqhpodcast@gmail.com.
That email again, Tom.
Is tqhpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on what, Marcus?
We're on Twitter. We're also on Facebook.
At TQH Podcast. You can find us there. And we are also on, Damien.
Wherever you can get a podcast, that is where the TQH podcast is. Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, we are on there.
And if you head over to iTunes, rate, subscribe, and leave a review, that would be fantastic. 5 stars if you think we deserve it. Thanks for listening.